Hey everybody, Zach here, back again for the first time with another message from LETR-Z. That's lies exposed, truth revealed in the last days. Because the Elohim that we serve is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the first to the last, the Aleph and the Ta, the A to the Z. And we are living in the Z. All glory to the Most High. We're going to be jumping back in here again with I Want My Kids to Know Who God Really Is by Barb Cantrell. And we're going to be doing chapter 4. Choose ye this day whom ye will serve. Choose ye this day whom ye will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Most High, said Joshua. Joshua and Caleb were the young leaders of the Exodus. Yahuwah led the people out with a column of fire by night and a pillar of smoke by day. He delivered them by parting the Red Sea and drowning Pharaoh's mighty chariot army. He fed them with manna, pellets dropped from heaven. Moses found water for them. They were very regimented with their tents and family lineage camps. They were numbered and had family patriarchs leading. They were removed from slavery, and everything was very new and frightening, uncertain. People were stressed, and it was hard for them to see past their uncertainties that Yahuwah was right there. The tribes of Israel were placed in ranks, and I recently read that this rank and file would have looked like a cross from the air. They were counted by the number of men, the women and children not being included in the count as they were not expected to be warriors. Yahuwah had delivered them into slavery because they defied him by worshiping idols. Every few hundred years, they bounced between praising Yahuwah and turning their backs on everything. It is the way we are when we don't instill the law of Yahuwah in our youth, and with each generation, we step further away. Just like it is now, history repeating itself. The royal line bounced around a lot too, even though they had the resources to learn differently. It is in our nature to be defiant against our parents in our youth to adult phase, and when we are injured spiritually, it becomes very easy to reject everything a parent or guardian has said. We take a "when I have kids, I won't ever do that" stance. Apparently, we very reliably follow their lead and become them, or we deviate and set ourselves very far away. Either is okay, but do not confuse your relationship to Yahuwah with your relationship to your parents. It is important to tell your children about Yahuwah. During the 40 years of wandering, they set up an elder system with 80 elders caring for the legal, spiritual, and community issues. Marital issues were taken to elders, adulterers, and rapists, and murderers were taken to the elders for judgment and stoning. There were 600,000 men and women and children. They were self-governing now, very different from enslavement. Sometimes it seemed like everything frightened them and that they were exasperatingly dumb. But they had vipers in their midst, factions that would later splinter off and become very holy unto themselves. Yahuwah knew their ways and called them stiff-necked, neither turning left or right to see another way. While Moses communed with Yahuwah in sight of them on a mount 40 miles away, they panicked and swiftly and industriously built a golden calf. They had no staying power, no ability to keep their feet still, and we can learn from them. Yahuwah will test you and your commitment to him. He will test you a few hours at a time at first, then a few days, then weeks, then months. He builds you by helping you to bridge one crisis at a time. The old how to do how do you eat an elephant thing? The old how do you eat an elephant thing? The answer being one bite at a time. Faith is grown slowly, swiftly, instantly, and over time. But it becomes stronger over time. Peter, I think, said, "Help my unbelief, Most High." These people were unarmed, run-off slaves that had fleeced the Egyptians on their exit. No one wanted much to do with them, even if they had found them in the desert. The volley of plagues Yahuwah hit Egypt with was relentless, ending in the loss of all firstborns, a really hard hit for family structure. The patriarchal family was a system that gave 2 times the value of inheritance to the eldest son. Patriarchal societies took care of the women after a dowry was given to the husband. Spouses became a business venture, and a brother would take his brother's wife if that man died. Complicating matters more, they had time to think about stuff, and fear filled in many gaps. They were offered a chance to settle down in a bountiful land, and fear stopped them. Even though Yahuwah showed his mercy and strength repeatedly and daily, they had no faith. Caving into fear, they wished for slavery, passed up bountiful lands, and were self-condemned to the desert. They said better to die here than to die fighting, and Yahuwah let them. None of the fearful, unfaithful crossed the mountains into the promised land. Only Joshua and Caleb, faithful and committed to Yahuwah and fellow man. They were not perfect. They were duped by moldy bread and worn sandals and allowed an enemy to survive. Vanity got to them. "We heard you were a mighty warrior" is the one-liner that threw them, but they were so honorable that they kept their word to an enemy, and then they fought in every engagement until every last tribe had a portion of land, with Caleb's hilltop being the hardest one. They were amazing even in defeat. These were some of the most potent examples, or ensamples, of courage, and the most pitiful examples of weakness. What is right with Yahuwah may not be right with man, and vice versa. This theory is applied many times in the Bible. Aaron's sons were killed by Yahuwah when they sought to balance the falling ark of the covenant of Yahuwah. He was not a golden calf, dumb, wooden, metal-covered statue. Samson was born of miraculous circumstances. Having an aged mother, was a powerful judge in the land, and behaved in mind-boggling ways to his family and friends. His people were oppressed by the Philistines, and here is this important man carrying on with a Philistine maiden. Then, when she duped him, he entered their city, tearing a few 100-pound gate off the hinges and packing it off up a hill. They begged him not to enter, but he went in and proceeded to have an affair with another vicious woman. I am sure many felt that he got what he deserved when they imprisoned him. He was mocked, blinded, and forced to turn a grist mill with cattle. They treated him like a beast. Then, one day, they brought him into an arena grandstand to laugh at him. He used his might to topple the grandstand and kill the elite ruling class. An ensample of the Messiah, Yeshua, where one dies for all. In the confusion that followed, his people rose up and were freed. The Apostle Paul was a convert. He went from being a persecutor of Christians to being one of the greatest men of Yahuwah. He heard voices in his head, calling these friends in the Spirit. He traveled in circles that no one else could have appeared. Upon defying the Roman law, he was arrested. The arresting officer then had to refer the matter to a higher authority because he was Roman. The next level of authority had the unpleasant realization that not only was he Roman, but he was a free man. This entailed making sure he got to the next authority safely, so 50 horsemen were assigned to safely transport him onward and upward. It turns out that he was an elevated and enlightened as you could get without being royal family. Presented to King Agrippa for trial, he cheerfully fell to flattery to stay alive and became the best spokesman for Christianity that he could be. "Live forever, O King Agrippa," he greeted his king, judge, and jury. Paul experienced blindness, a near shipwreck, near friendship, angelic release from prison, and prison again, and he did it all well, sparing an innocent guard. Yahuwah promises the desire of your heart if you commit your works to him. I see this pattern with rock giants like Freddie Mercury and Queen and David Bowie. I believe they started out honoring the Most High or their faith well in their musical works. They lived very large, if not righteous lives. This is confusing, but it falls into what is right by Yahuwah may not be right by man. These people could still inspire many to gather together on a righteous cause because they were generous during Live Aid and later Farm Aid. They present trailblazers that people still admire. No one knows how Yahuwah will use their abilities or memories or friendships. It pains me because I've seen a multitude of hell testimonies where people have been taken to hell by the Most High, and they see a lot of celebrities in hell because they led a lot of people astray. All music that doesn't honor the Most High is effectively secular. Secular is really just another word for worldly, or essentially demonic. Again, he is the prince of the power of this world. He is the prince of this world. So all these songs out there. There was one hell testimony that I saw. Actually, a few. There have been a few people that have actually corroborated this. That like I said, it really hurts me. It really pains me to know this. But an individual like Michael Jackson is in hell, and it's because he, his music was for himself. And they think that they have such a wonderful message. And they think they're helping people, but they're leading people away from the Most High. And Michael in particular, and again, this has been corroborated by several of the testimonies that I've seen from different individuals, has all begged people, please stop listening to my music. Every time their music is listened to, the angels force them to perform more and to not be able to stop, and they get tortured more and more and more when the songs are being played. And of course, these are top 40 hits that never seem to die. They're continually and constantly being played. So unfortunately, like I said, I mean, it's just horrible and sad that some of these individuals that have been idols, and again, make no idols aside from me, and that's what people do, is they turn these rock musicians, pop stars, so on and so forth, artists of many different kinds, into idols, leading people astray, getting more attention than the Most High gets. And it is because they rejected the Messiah and lived for themselves that they were separated from Yahuwah, from the Most High. So yeah, it's painful to think about that. So maybe I'll do a video at some point on the type of music that I listen to. I generally stay away from pretty much all secular music, and of course I wasn't always that way. I listened to a lot of different music. I was a metalhead pretty much my entire life. I liked, a lot of different things, but I just can't listen to it like I used to. It's the message. I see it different. I hear it different. It has a different effect on me, and if it's not glorifying the Father, then it's something that I don't really want anything to be entering into my ear. If you notice, the ear is shaped like a womb, right? So what you entertain, what you allow into your brain, and then you focus on, you're going to give birth to that. And yeah, like I said, maybe I'll do a video on some of the music that I listen to. It's a lot of controversial artists, because everything having to do with the Most High in this demonic evil world is absolutely controversial to the standard individual. But anyway, Yahuwah promises the desire of your heart if you commit your works to Him. Oh, I already read that. Jealousy and frustration is always difficult, and it is easily summed up in the Bible. Everyone has a way of going in the world. That is, everyone has their way of going in the world, even if it drives you nuts. Yahuwah gives each person survival skills or promised help with existing. And whether it is money or acceptance that keep them going in life, it is a gift from Yahuwah to them. The person may not be able to survive without it, and Yahuwah never gives up more than we can handle. Yahuwah never gives us more than we can handle. Comment on that one. That is definitely scripture in the Bible. However, people tend to disregard the second half of that. That's only the first half of it. That's A side. There's a B side to that. The Most High is never going to give me more than I can handle, but He's also going to give you a way out of it. So there's always a way that, because He's not going to tempt you. The enemy is tempting you with sin, and, what you are tempted with doesn't necessarily mean that you have to give into it. There's always a way out of it. Now, many of us, myself included, I fail. And that's where grace does come into play, because He knows we're gonna mess up, but it's keeping that the righteous man will fall 7 times, but he will get back up and continue to move forward, whereas the man of sin will fall into condemnation and continue to sin. And once sin becomes iniquity, it becomes a way of life. And that's where the whole, well, I am what I am, I'm born this way. Well, yeah, I mean, we all have faults. We all have, things that we struggle with. We all have demons chirping in our ear. It's like the angel over here, the demon over here. Well, which one are you going to listen to, And, there's always a way out of any temptation, and it's not just about, well, I'm tempted, I'm just going to give in, and I'm going to give in again, and I'm going to give in again and again and again and again. And like I said, when you give in repeatedly and over again, and Hebrews 10:26 is, when you come to the knowledge of truth, and then you willingly sin, and when that sin becomes iniquity, becoming a way of life, that's where grace is no longer available to an individual. There's one unforgivable sin, and that is profaning the Holy Spirit. Because we speak with our heart in many cases, but it also says the heart is deceitfully wicked amongst, more than all other things. And when we are living by our heart, then we're just, giving in over and over and over and over again. There needs to be a consistent, hey, I fell, I messed up, I can't do this on my own, I need your help, strengthen me, for He is strong when we are weak. But, again, as faith without works is dead, we must have the faith. Grace comes into play with that because we will fall, but then the works will follow because we are to become less ourselves, empty myself out, and be filled with the Holy Spirit, be filled with, the power and grace of, the Most High. Then we become more like Him. Where was I? This goes for you too, even if it drives them nuts. All right, let's go back a second. The person may not be able to survive without it, and Yahuwah never gives us more than we can handle. This goes for you too, even if it drives them nuts. This acceptance is a life skill, and it is better than an ulcer. Déjà vu is second sight, a French term for precognition, or a feeling that you have been there before. I believe Yahuwah injects that been here before feeling into our lives when He has changed circumstances for us so that we can make a better decision or a braver decision this time around. My personal experience with that, I have deja vu quite often. And one of the most profound ones was early in my, coming to the Most High, early in my walk with Him. Bit of my testimony is that I was what I considered a functioning alcoholic. I drank day in and day out every single day. Always had a beer in my hand. I never really went too far in the direction of, hard liquor. It was pretty much always beer. But I was trying to go to school. I was doing it online. I was having issues with my internet. And, I was really just under a lot of spiritual attack, because when you walk away, that's when the enemy, the devil, gets really mad. And that's when he starts, attacking you the most, because he wants you to fall back into your sin. He wants you to fall back into that condemnation and again, create iniquity. But I struggled with my anger, and I had a collection of incredible Hulk figures, the big green Goliath, and I had a shelf, and on it were all of my Hulk figures, and I just uppercut it, and the shelf flew up, but then came back down. All of the the figures, the statues, everything I had on there came crumbling down, and the shelf landed on my foot, and there was a big period of time where I had these like crumpled up feet that had just developed over a long period of time, and I was, like my feet were just like this, but I had to like work them out over time and really stretch them out, and it's still a work in progress even now. But the shelf landed directly on my foot, and it hit in a position that released this big pressure bubble, and hurt a lot. And I had this moment of deja vu that was like, I've been here before, I've done this before, I've experienced all this before. It was so clear this was a moment of decision, and the first urge I had was to just say, screw it, grab a beer and start drinking. And I was really working on not drinking at that time. But I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And I just started pacing around my living room and working that pressure out of that foot just a little bit more. It's been a constant process. But like I said, it was really just a matter of, I've been here before, I've done this before, I've experienced this. And rather than going the path that, I seemingly have always gone in the past, I chose a different path. I went a different direction. And, I used to say that I lived in darkness. I lived in absolute darkness, and there was no light, and I didn't realize it at the time. But I remember telling a coworker, I was like, I see this light at this, miles, miles off, an undeterminate amount of distance. I see this light in my mind that I've never seen before. And I just started walking towards it. And, I explain it as, when you are going to, like, we're all on a conveyor belt, the conveyor belt of life. And you're just going through the motions of life. And you're on this conveyor belt, and that conveyor belt is effectively taking you directly to hell. And you don't realize it. But once you start waking up and you start seeing the world for what it is, and effectively it is a matrix. We're all controlled by some manner. And I decided to get off the conveyor belt. And you start looking for the stairway to heaven. You always hear about it. Where's the stairway to heaven? Well, there isn't one. It doesn't exist. And credit where credit is due, Marilyn Manson said it's a long, hard road out of hell. It's true. So there is no conveyor belt back the opposite direction. There is no stairway. It's a long, hard road out of hell, and you have to walk. And when everybody, that's why it says that, the path to destruction is wide and many therefore be on it, and the path to salvation is narrow. Well, when you start going back the opposite direction, you start facing, everybody else, and you're bumping into people because they're saying, "What are you doing, man? Go the direction that we're all going this way. Why aren't you going this way?" And I've seen just absolute opposition ever since the moment I decided to go against the devil and stop doing his work and to go the opposite way, and to strive for that light that I saw in the distance. It's there. It's very real. You just got to get off that conveyor belt, and it's not going to be an easy journey. I promise you that. Gets harder, but it's so worth it. So anybody who is seeing me, hearing me, and maybe you're just checking me out for the first time, maybe you've been following along, I don't know. Hopefully my testimony has some type of impact on you. There is a better path, because that conveyor belt is, like I said, it's just dumping people off a cliff directly into hell. Get off the conveyor belt, start walking back, bump into shoulders, pissing people off. That's what I've been doing. I piss everybody off. I piss people off in the church. I piss people off on here. I piss people off everywhere I go. I don't mean to. I don't want to. I don't try to. It's not intentional. But because I'm not going with the flow of this world, and he says, if you are friends with this world, you are at enmity with God. That means you are an enemy of God. Get off the conveyor belt. Start pissing some people off. It's fun. I believe Yahuwah injects that been here before feeling into our lives when he has changed circumstances for us so that we can make a better decision or a braver decision this time around. The disciples hinted at this possibility when they asked the Messiah, Yeshua, about whose sin caused the infirmity of a child. I firmly believe we lived and died before, making many of the same mistakes again. I picture me dying when the flood hit and standing before Yahuwah in judgment saying, "Well, Yahuwah, if you had given me this or showed me that or let me, this time around, he did. And when I die, he will tell me my secret name he refers to in the Bible, and I will see if I did any better this time around." Be your own hero, write your own story, and enjoy victories and rest in the Most High. Write your story like you want it read in the paper. Prophesying a better existence for yourself, write I am, I will, and I want to stories. And for the best in life, ask Yahuwah what he wants for you. Find peace in the moment knowing Yahuwah is in charge, even if we don't see it. Do your bit. A bartender once said to a woman whose car ended up in water that Yahuwah had saved her. The woman spouted back that he wasn't done with me yet. The bartender assured her she was part of a plan. Her faith was strong. She asked me what I thought, and considering my lost state at the time, I said I would probably get to heaven and say, I don't remember dropping that quarter. Look how Yahuwah used that. Yahuwah will use us in surprising ways. As a man thinketh, he liveth. Don't be afraid to say, Yahuwah, I want this, and be looking for the opportunity. Angels are waiting for you to change your way of thinking so they can help you evolve to what you would rather be. No, it isn't always fast, and you may completely miss it. Most of the time, I miss Yahuwah gifting me. I've had some really tough years, so I end up screaming like a banshee, hating my life and in despair, only to receive the needed gift from Yahuwah right after a major hissy fit, and I don't do them in half measures. Then I feel sheepish and stupid and ungrateful. Everyone has a way of going in the world. That's my stupid way. It is easier if you had the head bonking routine to assure you of Yahuwah's existence first. But gifts get missed all the time. Listen to him too. He is calling you. Satan met Yeshua after Yeshua spent 40 days in the desert. Yeshua had a plan given to him by Yahuwah. Satan was fast to swoop in and try to derail it. He offered Yeshua wealth, prestige, and he told him if he was hungry to turn the rocks into bread. Yeshua carefully answered him and did not allow himself drawn into temptation or an argument. Get thee behind me is an insult, and it was a command. Yeshua went on to turn a rocky hillside into enough bread to feed the crowd of 5,000 later. Good ideas can come from bad people. The point is that Yeshua never used his powers to serve self, never sought wealth or to hurt anyone else, and waited on the Most High, Elohim Yahuwah, for his daily bread. He never offered Yahuwah with his spiritual gifts. He never offended Yahuwah with his spiritual gifts. Like the Nove Teshers now that pretend to own your retirement money. Satan said, let me give you wealth and riches and fame. Yahuwah owns all the gold on the earth. Yeshua was not fooled. The Pharisees used mind control, and Yeshua referred to it as the Pharisees' leavening. Leavening is the yeast in bread that makes it rise. The Pharisees would take a small emotion and turn it into something bigger. Love, hate, even like could become dangerous emotions when amplified. This is where psychotherapy is not helpful. Simple acceptances cool the fire down. Mind control is coveting and a deadly sin. They have that way of going in the world. It is not mine, desiring, it is coveting. These are life skills that can help you if afflicted with heightened emotions for any reason. Using mind control is coveting the control of someone's mind and is a deadly sin. Yeshua had all their powers but never used them in self-serving ways. He offered healing and never used his powers without permission or in meanness. He said, keep your jokes gentle like that of a child. He said he could not have anyone ignorant of these powers, yet churches do not teach or warn their congregation. Self-discipline is a choice, but it is much, much easier when life skills are taught to us. Yeshua did not sin and was highly evolved. He allowed women to minister to him. I believe Yeshua did marry. I believe he had the desires of his heart. I believe he went to France with Mary Magdalene and Joseph of Arimathea, whose tomb was used while Yeshua laid in a tomb. I don't know that any of that is actually biblical. I don't know where she's getting that from. But that's what some people say. Take that with a grain of salt, please. I believe the déjà vu theory was accepted with the people of France, and they do like the Triskele, a symbol of the Trinity. Yahuwah with us, Emmanuel. Why would Yahuwah deny his servant and son the desires of his heart? Excuse me. Obedience is hard. Submission is hard. We are taught poorly as a group and that makes it harder for those who are faithfully submitted. Yahuwah strengthens us in adversity and uplifts in peaceful times, labor, and rest. His yoke is light. I find this helpful. We are all crap. Okay. Well, we are all dust, and dust we shall return. We all fall short of the glory of the Most High. We are one step away from Yahuwah wherever we are in life. So why not have the power that made the whole universe on our side? I am crap, but Yahuwah upheld me, exalted me, and carried me through so much stuff that I can declare my success is not mine. It is Yahuwah's, and though I whine plenty, he made the impossible possible and the intolerable tolerable. I was one step away from death, from evil by choice, and he found something important for me to do. I needed that more than anything. He told me who I am. I know my self-worth with Yahuwah. I could use better manners with him and a little more hope, but I know he loves me. I am his baby girl, spoiled and snotty some days, but he is my father. He created us for this very reason, and he's realistic enough to know we act like hormonal, messed up teens most of our lives. But if you love him, you make his day, and he gets over it. He would rather you hate him than be neutral, lukewarm. He wants a tight and intense and long-lasting relationship with you. Submission starts with something as simple as, okay, Yahuwah, let's see what you've got. The head hitting will tell you he's boss. If you are strong-willed, it is still a good place to start. If you look for him, you will find him. Are you up to it? He prepared before me a table in the presence of my enemies. But man, did I have a lot of enemies. Yeshua spoke with Satan, who was Lucifer, while he was in heaven before the great battle. Now, there is debate on that as well, if they are the same individual or not. I've heard that Lucifer may actually have been a Nephilim, a giant child of the one of the fallen angels. So yeah, there is some debate to that if they are the same individual or not. But Satan, the devil, these are just titles. Hashatan. And in Hebrew, that actually means the basically it's a lawyer. You know, it's one who keeps law. So, you know, the devil is all about control. Satan was interested in him as this was Yahuwah's only begotten son on earth in human flesh. Yahuwah's first son, not Adam, with vanity and not turbocharged like an angel. Everything he did came by way of Yahuwah. Truly, in Yeshua's weakness was Yahuwah's strength. Like Job, he must have been protected. Satan made a comment about that. Job was everything, but Job lost everything, but his wife in that relationship suffered. Yeshua was stuck as a child under his stepdad's roof until he was about 33 years old. Job was faultless in his sacrifices and fully blindsided by Satan's attack on his life, and Satan's ruin of life did not diminish Job's respect or faith in Yahuwah. He was careful in his relationship to Yahuwah. Satan felt victorious when he strode into heaven and declared to Yahuwah that Yahuwah had no one left on earth faithful to him. Job became a challenge to Satan, who would try everything short of killing Job to turn him. Job was restored. Every earthly thing ended up with twice as big a family and many more herds. He was fantastically wealthy, but he also had the distinction of so much wisdom about the earth and the history of it. He stood apart from his contemporaries after his trials. His female children inherited cattle and land, his experience teaching him to value his girls. We get angry when things go wrong, but blackmail will keep you out of heaven. I consider many lawsuits to be blackmail. Medical lawsuits cause all good doctors to pay premiums to cover what a bad doctor cost the insurance company and leaves a potentially rotten doctor in the field to harm again. Insurance is not a godly concept. He uses loss to teach. The Bible simply says to do no give surety. The Bible simply says, do no give surety. In this sometimes godless world, the world of insurance industry is fully aware and contractually complete with acceptances of acts of Yahuwah. There is no confusion there. In schools, we're promoting Yahuwah would prevent a special interest plan. There is no Yahuwah, but insurance companies know Yahuwah exists. That's why they say an act of God. The world says responsible people have insurance, while Yahuwah says people should be responsible, but not responsible for an insurance company's livelihood. All things work together for the glory of the Most High. Every bad thing is used by the Most High. It condemns Satan. Sadly, it gives us a depth and meaning to our shallow, shapeless lives. When faced with unspeakable evil, we think of Yahuwah or cry out to him, blame him, wonder why, and that is usually why. We seldom seek him in good times. I have my favorite days when I wake up and say, today is a day the Most High Elohim created. What are we doing today? In Joshua and Caleb's day and Moses' day, there were many accepted gods, little g gods. None will ever be as powerful as the Most High that created us. He is the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last. He will be here after we are long gone, and he is far greater and more powerful than any other. Demons are like fallen angels scraped off the sidewalk in comparison. Why worship a second-rate God? I have the most powerful fists in the world behind me. In my weakness is his strength, and who can stand against him? In Elijah's day, Jezebel's prophet of Baal failed to draw fire from the air. Elijah had his servants pour water over the bull before asking Yahuwah to light it up. The fire from heaven was so hot that it consumed the water. Baal was nowhere to be found. He was outgunned, and he knew it. There are many gods today: money, friends, drugs, power, even cars, houses, jobs. We get what we need when we have Yahuwah in our life. We are not so limited that we have to settle for a mere existence. We have the ability to thrive. Commit your works to the Most High, and He will give you the desires of your heart. Choose ye this day whom ye will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Most High. And that concludes chapter 4. Seek the will of the Most High and His kingdom, and all else will follow. I think that's a pretty good summation of that chapter. I love you. Stay prayed up. Stay in your word. Confound the devil. He chooses the foolish things to confound the wise. Don't be a fool. Bye. See you in the next video.